This game is weird, man. I really can't find the words to describe the feelings I had while playing through this after so long. It felt like throughout the entire game there were attempts at balancing the serious and light-hearted moments, but ultimately whipped us from side to side without any remorse. It was without a doubt my least enjoyable experience out of the Uncharted series as a whole. The opening section of the game really felt like it was about to start off with a much more serious story than what we are used to, but aside from the fist fighting to keep things interesting, the opening part felt like such a drag, and it overstayed its welcome completely.
Whoa.
Even with Nate and Sully being shot for idiotic reasons,
Why, Victor,
it didn't work as a
please.
shock factor. Granted, I
Filthy
played
little
the game
stray that made off with your
before,
wallet.
and obviously I played Uncharted 4, so I know they didn't die, so it might just be because I already know.
Come on, son. You haven't got a chance.
But I
Just
can't see it
hand over.
working way back when as well. Now, it was very clear that Naughty
Now,
Dog wanted to portray Nathan
the ring.
in a much more serious sense, but with all that unfolds throughout the story, it was made abundantly clear that Nathan
What ring?
is selfish at his core, knowingly dragging everyone that he supposedly cares for
Catherine!
into danger
Who do you
for
think
his
you
own
are,
pride.
boy? You're nothing
that
but a
doesn't work for
filthy,
In the first two
cast-off little
titles, he
beggar.
repeatedly
You're not
shows
fit
care
to
and
touch
priority
these
to the
objects.
safety of the people around him. However, in this game, his major character
What do you
arc
think you're doing? He's
is
just a
him
kid.
coming to grips with the fact that he is
Stop him!
continuously putting people that he supposedly cares for in danger. Sully's life is on the line by the end of the game because
Stop
of him,
the boy!
and he wants to fix it,
Holy
which is a common character or common
the ring!
arc for the story of Uncharted. He tells Elena that he needs to do this on his own because it is too dangerous, which is, again, common to the Uncharted series. And the reason this feels weird, that Nathan all of a sudden doesn't want to put the people he cares for in danger, and he actually prioritizes their safety. It feels weird because these are character traits and behaviors that Nathan already possessed in the first two games, so that departure from it is very weird. They also did away with the magical and supernatural plot twist, but implemented it in a weird way. So the entire plot is that evil Yzma
Bet you were gonna
wants
put a
this
silencer on
hallucinogenic
that.
agent for malicious purposes,
You've got no sense
making
of
the
drama.
story seem more grounded and more serious than the previous titles.
Oh, that
But
racket's gonna bring the
they
cops any minute.
implemented a magical
Hell outta here.
element in a way
Pulled a
that
couple of those punches, Charlie.
you had to
They
fight
touched you.
fire
Headbutted
demons,
me.
All right. I
which
got a
was
little sweat
seemingly
up in
caused
the
by
moment.
this long-lost
You were the one who said
gin
make it look
artifact.
realistic.
But then it turns out Nate was
Oh,
hallucinating that as well. And the fact that it wasn't a magical element, but you
Told
still
you
had
they'd
to
take the
fight
bait.
magical
How long do you reckon before
enemies,
they
it
realise this
felt
is a
like they
fake?
couldn't
Cares?
decide on a theme
Finally
or
flushed them
plot
out.
that
we
they
just
could
fall back
commit
to that
to,
hole.
and it just made the
You do
entire game
realize you
feel
make
strange.
everything sound dirty.
The set pieces, though, as always,
Listen, kid.
are
I've
a
had you
spectacle
back
to behold.
20
It is
years.
ridiculous with how Naughty
I'm
Dog
not
has
going
mastered
anywhere.
flexing their muscles when
Obviously.
it comes to set pieces
I
and
just want to make sure
major
we're doing this for
cinematic
the right
sequences.
reasons.
On a side note,
Get your pride
the
all
slander
taken
in
up.
this game
It's making you
bugged me
reckless.
just as much as the previous
I
two
taught you better
titles,
than that.
and it bugged me throughout the entire Uncharted series. That is just the thing. It is my own personal conviction, though,
Probably get
so
us all
if it
killed.
doesn't bother you, there probably won't be a problem. I just don't like it. The gameplay was easily the part that kept the game together and interesting,
Sully,
except
if
for
we were
combat.
followed,
Shit,
But
chances
before
are
we
they
get
would
into
too.
that,
We gotta warn
if you haven't
them.
already,
Get
hit
to
those
Syria
like and
fast.
subscribe buttons,
Hope you remember
and
where we
maybe
left
we
the
could
car,
become friends.
'cause I am completely turned around.
So I mentioned the combat as the weakest gameplay element because it felt weird as the object word of this video. Yeah, I guess weird is the best way to describe it. Out of all the Uncharted games, I think I enjoyed the combat of this one the least, and as a matter of fact, I enjoyed Uncharted 1's combat a bit more than this one because even though the enemy's AI was very weird and archaic, you could rely on your shots and you could actually take them out with relative ease, no matter on what difficulty you play.
Marlowe and Talbot think
I really
we
can't
did.
describe how awkward it felt in this game,
Surprise.
shooting your enemies and avoiding their fire,
So,
it never felt
sneak in,
consistent and
find out where
delivered
the
a
holding company
mildly
got it.
infuriating
Glass
experience.
half full, Sully.
I'm just saying.
One
these
of
guys don't
the
seem like the hostage taking
things that they
Let's just go
implemented
with
that
best case
actually
scenario
feels
for
like a
now,
cheat
okay?
code, and which I did
Rescue
appreciate,
Cutter and Chloe.
was the ability to
4 of us
throw a
just
grenade back
Sneak back out.
that was thrown at you, which made encounters
out.
much less stressful.
Could happen.
Because honestly, worrying about grenades while behind cover was easily the most broken way of dealing with a lot of enemies. On the other spectrum of combat though, I did really enjoy the fist fighting a lot more than all of the Uncharted titles. This one wins in that regard. Even though it could get repetitive because you fight a hell of a lot of big dudes and there are many opportunities to fight other guys, I cherished every single moment of it because of how engaging and enjoyable it was, and it was much more fleshed out than all of the Uncharted titles, and I knew it would be the first and last time we would have seen it, so I enjoyed it while I had it. The running and climbing was a bit more realistic than the previous two titles as well, and even enjoyable. Nathan's movements while on the ground and taking cover is much more believable, and his climbing is not as exaggerated as it was in the previous two titles, especially in number 1. Holy crap, he's like a jacked up monkey. And speaking of climbing, the puzzles this time around, while not difficult or really brain provoking in any way, it wasn't as heavily reliant on climbing around obstacles to find the great path forward, like in Uncharted 1 and many times in Uncharted 2. And this time around, we had to use minimal brain capacity to figure out how to get past the puzzle, which I really enjoyed. They were somewhat interesting, and it was a nice departure from what we had previously seen. Graphically, the game looks impressive for its time, and it's relatively easy to get used to. Compared to games we see today, it doesn't look as great, but what Naughty Dog could do with the PlayStation 3 back then compared to other developers that time, you really got to give them props with the graphical fidelity that they consistently push forward. And luckily, graphics aren't in any way the biggest part to enjoying a game. You can have shit graphics and still have an amazing game on your hands. So that's a plus point. All in all, I don't really like Uncharted 3 as much as the previous first two titles, and as a matter of fact, all 4 of the titles. I know I said it before in this video, but I really have to stress it, it is my least favorite. And thinking back, I didn't enjoy it the first time around as much as well. So many of you might disagree with me on this video. I know Uncharted 3 is a favorite of many. I just don't think it works as well as the others. Like, all of the Uncharted titles are great in their own respect. This one I just feel does the least for me. Would I recommend this to someone new to the Uncharted series? Sure, I mean the gameplay is easily the strongest aspect. Just don't expect a whole lot and you should be fine. Uncharted was never meant as a deep and meaningful story in the same way that The Last of Us was depicted. It was meant as a light-hearted action adventure, and it certainly delivers in that regard, at least for the first 3 titles. With all that being said, thank you for watching. If you made it this far in the video, you have a slightly above average attention span, so congratulations. Stay tuned for Uncharted 4 next week, and I'll catch you next time. May God bless you all, and stay safe.